Your comfort zone isn't keeping you stuck. It is actively dragging you back. Bob Proctor discovered a mechanism inside your mind. One so precise, so automatic, that it has been quietly dismantling every goal you've ever set. And it doesn't look like fear or resistance. It shows up as an emergency, a car that breaks down at the worst moment, a relationship that suddenly implodes, a health scare that swallows every ounce of your focus. And it will keep happening, over and over, until you understand the one thing I am going to reveal before this video ends. If you've ever felt like life keeps pulling you backward every single time you start moving forward, this video didn't appear in your feed by accident. Stay to the final minute. In the next 40 minutes, you'll understand exactly why Bob Proctor called the comfort zone a thermostat. Not a cage, not a feeling, but a precise, automatic mechanism with one single goal: to return you to your current normal. And once you see how that thermostat controls your income, your relationships, and every result in your life, nothing will ever look the same. Imagine your home's thermostat set to 72 degrees. You crack a window, cold air floods in. The thermostat immediately kicks on the heat and pulls the room back to 72, without asking permission, without hesitation. Now here's the truth that most people never apply to their own lives. That is not a metaphor for your mind. It is your mind. Bob Proctor spent over 50 years studying why brilliant, motivated people consistently fail to hold on to success. What he found was staggering. Every human being operates with a mental thermostat, a set point, calibrated by years of conditioning, environment, and repeated emotional experience. This set point determines your normal income, your normal quality of relationships, your normal level of confidence and self-worth. And here is the part that changes everything. The moment your life starts to exceed that normal. The moment you begin earning more, achieving more, or feeling more worthy than your set point allows. Your subconscious does exactly what any thermostat does. Correct. Doesn't think, it doesn't judge. It simply pulls you back to familiar territory. The terrifying part, you don't experience this as internal sabotage. You experience it as life getting in the way, an unexpected expense, a sudden distraction, a crisis that demands your full attention. But there's a deeper question hiding here. One that Proctor spent years answering. Where does this set point actually come from? And the answer is more disturbing than most people are prepared to hear. But here's what makes this even more unsettling. You didn't choose your thermostat setting. Someone else set it for you before you had the language to question it. Developmental psychologists tell us that by age 7, the core patterns of our identity, including our relationship with money, success, and personal worthiness, are already deeply embedded in the subconscious mind. You were programmed before you could even question the program. The things you overheard as a child, the attitudes your parents modeled around money and deserving, the moments you were praised for staying small or made to feel guilty for wanting more. All of it fed directly into your subconscious, constructing a precise picture of what normal looks like for someone like you. Bob Proctor called this your paradigm, a cluster of deeply embedded habits and beliefs that guide your behavior entirely on autopilot. Your paradigm doesn't care what you consciously want. It cares about what feels normal. And if wealth, visibility, or meaningful achievement doesn't feel normal, your brain will work with ruthless efficiency to restore the familiar. Most people are not going after what they want, even serious goal setters. They're going after what they think they can get. If this is already reshaping how you see your own patterns, hit like and subscribe to reprogram more of your money blocks. The next insight is where the actual sabotage begins, and it has been hiding in plain sight your entire life. What I'm about to describe might sound uncomfortably familiar. You set a goal, you feel genuinely inspired, you take the first real steps, and then something happens. Your car needs expensive repairs at the worst possible moment. A family member needs you urgently. A crisis at work demands your full attention. A health issue flares up out of nowhere. You tell yourself it's just bad timing. I'll restart when things settle down. But things never settle down, because the thermostat will never allow them to. Here's what Bob Proctor understood, and what most success coaches are unwilling to say out loud. These events are not simply random. Your subconscious is not physically causing car accidents, but it is flooding your mind with anxiety until you manufacture a crisis. It is amplifying every obstacle until your goal feels overwhelming. It is directing your attention toward emergencies that conveniently justify retreat. Neuroscience supports this completely. When your brain perceives a threat to its existing identity, and rapid growth is a threat to an identity built on limitation, It activates the same stress response as physical danger. Your brain treats your own growth like an incoming predator. You self-sabotage without the slightest awareness that you're doing it. And here's the deeply unsettling truth. The more motivated and capable you are, the harder the pullback hits. But why does it hit so hard? The mechanism has a specific name. And once you understand it, you'll recognize it operating in every area of your life. The mechanism behind that pullback has a name. Psychologists call it homeostasis, the fundamental drive of any biological system to maintain its current state. Your body does it with temperature, your cells do it with chemistry, and your subconscious does it with your identity. When Bob Proctor studied people who genuinely broke through financially, people who moved from real scarcity to sustained, lasting wealth, he noticed something striking. Almost all of them experienced intense internal resistance before their breakthrough. Not fear of failure, fear of success, fear of actually becoming more, because their subconscious read growth as a direct threat to the existing identity. The further they moved from their set point, the more intense the corrective pressure became. Think of a rubber band stretched to its limit. The further you pull it from its resting state, the harder it snaps back. This explains why so many people earn more money and spend it back to zero within months. Why relationships that feel too good get unconsciously sabotaged. Why people lose significant weight and regain every pound. It is not a failure of willpower. It is not weakness of character. It is thermostatic correction. Precise, automatic, and entirely unconscious. The only way to stop the snapback is to stop trying to stretch beyond your set point and instead start genuinely moving it. But moving it requires understanding something specific about how Proctor believed it was built. And that brings us to his most controversial discovery. Bob Proctor studied success and failure for over 5 decades, and his central conclusion, the one that made him one of the most influential teachers in the personal development world, was radical. He said the problem is never strategy, never opportunity, never intelligence or talent or timing. The problem is always the image. Proctor taught that your subconscious mind operates from a self-concept, a deeply held, emotionally anchored image of who you are and what you genuinely deserve. This image was built from thousands of repeated experiences across your most formative years. And here is the insight that changes everything. Your self-concept does not update automatically when your circumstances change. You can earn a promotion and still see yourself as the person who barely gets by. You can create genuine success and still feel, deep down, like an imposter waiting to be exposed. You can lose 30 pounds and still see someone unworthy in the mirror. See yourself living in abundance and you will attract it. It always works. It works every time with every person. He wasn't speaking metaphorically when he said this. He was describing a neurological reality. When your self-image genuinely shifts, when your subconscious accepts a new normal, the corrective pullback loses its target, not because you became stronger, because the thermostat was actually reset. So the real question is, how do you reset it? The answer is more specific than anything you've heard before, and it completely changes where you need to place your effort. Before we get to the reset, you need to honestly assess whether your thermostat is actively working against you right now. Here are the patterns most people never connect back to a single underlying cause. 1. You keep returning to the same financial baseline. No matter what you earn in a good stretch, you find yourself back where you started within a year. 2. You repeatedly walk away from opportunities that feel too good, and you call it wisdom, when it might be something else entirely. 3. Your best intentions are consistently derailed by crises that appear out of nowhere. 4. Relationships that feel exceptional get destroyed, sometimes by your own hand, sometimes through circumstances you passively allowed. 1. Same income baseline every single. 2. Walking away from opportunities that feel too big. 3. Constant unexpected emergencies at peak momentum. 4. Sabotaging relationships that feel too good to be true. If any of those felt like a mirror, that is your thermostat speaking. Most people fight symptoms their entire lives without ever touching the cause. Bob Proctor said people spend entire lifetimes battling the effects of a misaligned set point while never addressing the source. They work harder, they try new strategies, they blame the economy, their upbringing, their timing, never questioning the dial itself. But here is what nobody warns you about. These signs grow louder the closer you get to a genuine breakthrough, because your subconscious senses the danger of real change accelerating, and what happens at the peak of that danger. The moment when the pullback is at its most powerful. is the part that no one prepares you for. Now here's where most personal development advice gets it completely wrong, and why so many people fail even after they understand everything we've discussed. They treat the mind like a goal-setting machine. They write affirmations on sticky notes. They make vision boards. They repeat mantras in the mirror every morning. And then the thermostat pulls them back, and they conclude the methods don't work. But here's the truth Proctor returned to again and again. The methods do work, but only when applied at the subconscious level, not the conscious one. Conscious repetition without deep emotional immersion barely scratches the surface. Proctor was precise about what actually shifts the thermostat. He called it impressing the subconscious. A consistent, emotionally charged, vividly imagined vision of the person you are becoming, held so regularly and with such conviction that your subconscious begins to accept it as your present reality. The mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This is not mysticism. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza documented that subjects who practiced vivid identity visualization produced measurable changes in brainwave activity, hormonal levels, and behavioral habits, without any change in their external environment at all. You don't change your life and then your mind. You change your mind first. Reprogramming doesn't begin with action. It begins with a new image, held with enough consistency that it starts to feel real. But there's one specific step that makes the reprogramming actually stick. The single most overlooked piece Proctor believed separated those who broke through from everyone else. This is where Proctor separated himself from every other teacher in the personal development space. And the distinction is deceptively simple. He called it living from the future, not hoping for the future, not working toward a future, living from it as if it is already done. Here's the specific difference that matters. Most people set a goal and then arrange their behavior to pursue it. They think, when I have more money, I'll feel more confident. When I'm successful, I'll act like a successful person. That is the exact backwards approach. Your thermostat is designed to keep you locked inside. Proctor taught the radical reverse. Adopt the feeling, the decisions, and the identity of the person who already has what you want, before the external evidence exists. This is what gradually shifts the thermostat upward. When your new level of success starts to feel normal rather than threatening, the corrective pullback loses its target. Normal is the only word that matters. This is why Proctor insisted on studying wealth and success every single day. Not for information accumulation, but for identity immersion. Because immersion changes self-image, and self-image determines what your thermostat is calibrated to protect. When your subconscious genuinely accepts abundance as your normal, the pullback stops, not because you overpowered it, because you changed what it's protecting. But there is one final layer of the comfort zone trap that Proctor considered the most dangerous truth of all, and it is the one that will make everything else in this video click completely into place. This is the thing I promised you at the beginning of this video. The piece most people never discover, the layer of the comfort zone trap Bob Proctor considered the most dangerous of all. And it is the reason that even committed, self-aware people ultimately fail to hold their ground. The comfort zone doesn't just create internal self-sabotage, it creates identity defense. And here is what that means in practice. Every time you move decisively toward your goal, every time you take real action, gain genuine momentum, and start to feel like this time is different, your subconscious doesn't only manufacture internal disruptions, it recruits the people around you. They question your decisions with concern. They remind you of past failures with love. They offer realistic advice that sounds like support but functions like an anchor, not because they are malicious, because your change threatens their set point. When you grow, you become living evidence that they could grow too. And that possibility is destabilizing for anyone who hasn't committed to change themselves. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is the social thermostat, the most powerful and least visible layer of the comfort zone trap. Your environment does not just passively reflect your set point, it actively enforces it. The comfort zone doesn't just live inside you. It lives between you and everyone you know. Do you think this truth is liberating or terrifying? Comment liberating or terrifying right now, and if someone you know is trapped by this, share this video with as many people as you possibly can. This truth is too important to stay on one screen. Now you have everything Bob Proctor spent his life trying to show the world, and the only question remaining is what you choose to do with it. Your comfort zone is a thermostat. It was calibrated before you had a voice in the matter. It has been correcting your trajectory with methodical precision every single time you move towards something greater than your current set point. Disguised as bad luck, sudden emergencies, and the well-meaning doubts of people you trust. Protect your current normal at all costs. But here is what Proctor proved with his entire life's work, and what neuroscience now confirms with measurable data. The thermostat can be reset, not through brute willpower, not through grinding harder than everyone else, through a new image, a new identity, a deeply held, emotionally immersive picture of the person you are actively becoming, held with enough consistency that your subconscious begins to accept it as the new normal. The social pressure will push back. Your internal correction will activate. These are not signs that something is wrong. They are signs that something is finally right, that you are actually moving beyond the boundary your set point was built to protect. Growth isn't about escaping your comfort zone. It's about expanding it until it includes your dreams. This is the comfort zone trap, fully exposed. And now that you understand how it works, you are no longer its prisoner. You are the one holding the dial. If you do not change direction, you may end up where you are heading. Proctor believed that every person who sought out this knowledge was already reaching for the dial. Now it's your turn to actually turn it. Every goal you've ever abandoned, every breakthrough that quietly collapsed back into the familiar, every season of momentum that ended in a crisis you didn't see coming. Now you understand why. It was never bad luck. It was never a lack of discipline or talent or effort. It was a thermostat calibrated years before you had any say in the matter, doing its job with ruthless and invisible precision. Bob Proctor's greatest gift wasn't teaching people how to succeed. It was showing them what was silently working against their success, so they could finally stop fighting the wrong battle and start adjusting the actual dial. Stop fighting symptoms, start adjusting the dial. The comfort zone is not a feeling. It is not a lack of courage. It is a biological imperative. A system so deeply embedded that it recruits your family, your circumstances, and your own subconscious mind to keep you exactly where you started. But systems can be reprogrammed. Set points can be raised. And the person you have been conditioned to believe you are is not the person you are required to remain. See yourself living in abundance and you will attract it. It always works. It works every time with every person. If you made it this far, comment thermostat reset, because that is exactly what you just began. You reset yours. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it.